right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of Five on the Floor here at the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Am I drunk or did that go differently than it usually does? Our producer is Alejandro Villegas. Could be both. We've got Greg Sylvander. We've got an official. I don't know what that's about. Tony Schwartz NBA. Brady Hawk is back out of the protocols, sort of, kind of. And of course, Jonathan Ramalicon. You can follow him at 3-Piece Combo. The Miami Heat play the Phoenix Suns tonight. We are sponsored, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing. Biscayne Bay Brew, the official beer of the Five Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins. You get the Marlins Lager, the Tropical Bay IPA, also the Pastime Pilsner, the Regatta Double IPA, the La Colada Porter. I haven't talked about that one much. I haven't tried that one yet. You can also find Biscayne Bay Brewing, there you go, at the FTX Arena, the 100 level and the 300 level. You can see the kiosks there. And again, support local beer, support the sponsors that support us, and get yourself a Biscayne Bay Brew. We're also sponsored by a friend, Mark Brown, PA. Well, his name is Mark Brown. You can find him at markbrownpa.com. That's M-A-R-C. A lot of typing in the background. Let's mute that. MARCBrownPA.com. You can find him there. Also, you can find him in north of Cypress Creek Boulevard, right off of Andrews. If you're looking for an estate plan, Mark is the guy to go to. The phone number, 954-566-5678. 954-566-5678. Mark's been trapped in the house for a few days, so he'll be back at work this week. Go check him out, and again, get your estate plan done by the best. All right, let's get to it. We got the Heat and the Suns. No Jimmy Butler tonight. Brady, who else is in and who else is out?
Yeah, once again, no KZ Okpala. Again, Gabe Vincent exited the protocols, but he is not going to make this game as well. So I think the starting lineup is pretty similar, except I think Duncan steps in for Strus this time around. And I think Caleb Martin is probably the sub guy for Jimmy Butler. Eric Spoelstra just said way too many times how he's the Jimmy Butler light in a lot of ways, that he can just do a lot of the things that he does. I don't think they bump Strus down and they play Strus and Duncan together, because especially against this Suns team, you would just get picked apart if you put those two guys out there to start. So I'd expect Caleb to start, and everybody else is pretty much a go.
All right, well,
on the protocol side.
Okay, well, that's a good question. And again, on the Suns side, pretty much everybody is back, right? Like the protocols, there were a lot of players that are in protocols. They've come back. All right, so let's pivot to you on this, Greg, because Brady said it. I'd expect Duncan Robinson to start over Max Strus. I was told, I mean, Spoelstra said this before the game, but I was told again by somebody in the Heat front office that the reason that Duncan didn't start over Strus the other night was because Strus got to the team before Duncan did, had some time to acclimate a little bit. They weren't quite sure about Duncan. But he also said to me, the person that I spoke to, said, well, I mean, we're not saying, though, that it could never happen, but we're just saying that it was not a performance-based thing for the other night. What do you think?
For tonight, I think Duncan gets somehow inserted back into the starting lineup. I don't know what the implications are around that, but I do have a feeling that that'll come back to normal now. But I don't know that that'll be what happens forever. But I think a game tonight against Phoenix, where you're undermanned, I don't know. I think that it would really jump out to everybody, the fan base included, if Duncan sat tonight, because there wouldn't be he got rushed back from protocols late kind of thing there. So there would be something more to watch for. So I expect for them to quell any noise by starting Duncan.
Yeah, but Jonathan, quelling noise is one thing. Doing what's best for the team is another. Seems to me like they need a little bit more creation in the starting lineup than Duncan's going to provide with this group. So what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I kind of liked what I saw to be seeing coming off the bench. I felt like he was able to pick his spots a little bit better. I think he was 4 for 6 from downtown. His first game back. He doesn't have the pressure of the opposing team coming out and knowing right off the rip, hey, just run him off the line, and you'll pretty much render him ineffective. When he's coming off the bench, he's able, like I said, to pick his spots, find who he wants to target, and just be a little more aggressive, because he talks about himself having imposter syndrome. Maybe it just takes the pressure off a little bit easier. And when you have a shooter like that, it's really nothing physical. It's a lot mentally. So I think maybe it takes some pressure off of him, bring him off the bench. Long term, it might just work.
Jonathan is streaming from a closet. Where are you? A closet at the gym? People are asking about this.
No, it's the training office in the gym.
The training office in the gym. Okay, so there we go. See, look, you never know where we're going to show up from. And then we've got an official here at house. Tony Schwartz joining us again for the second straight day. Let's get to the specifics of, one thing. Oladipo's not back yet. We know that. For people who are asking, and we addressed it via the show, there's no Butler tonight. There's no Dedmon tonight. There's no Vincent yet. He's out of protocols, but he's not playing tonight. But when you look at the Strus Robinson and beyond that, the hero situation, because Tyler's struggling a little bit right now. I don't think there's any way around it. I mean, the shot is not what it was before. I know there's been a lot of kind of speculation on whether he's hit a little bit of a wall here or whether he's being asked to do too much, or maybe it's just the fact he doesn't have Bam and Jimmy next to him. So I'll just say, how would you handle the 3 guards tonight? Other than Lowry, obviously, who's sort of his own category.
Yeah, I think you really should start Max right now. But I think the Heat are probably also looking at this and the athletes that Phoenix has, the length that they can throw at us and going, well, maybe Duncan hedging because he's bigger is a better option. And you got guys like Ayton that you have to contend with and Mikal cutting off ball. Miami's in a really crappy situation tonight. I don't see many paths to victory as I look at it. And I'm wearing an official shirt, so I might rig the game for us, give somebody an early technical and get them out. But Max should start because we need more creation. We're not getting enough speed out of Lowry, and we're definitely not getting anything out of Duncan on that side of the ball, outside of maybe a dunk down pass. But Yurt's not going to create anything off of a cut, so it should be Max tonight.
Brady, I mean, to that point, let's assume that he goes with Duncan instead of Max. And then, you're starting Yurt. You're playing him a lot of minutes again with Tucker. We saw you wrote a very good piece on the website, which people should check out, about PJ and the way they've played through PJ and kind of this ridiculous season that he's having. But there was this ridiculous debate that was going on Twitter. At first people were accusing me of kind of creating a straw man until I told them to just look at the comments under what I was posting. There are people who actually believe that when everybody's healthy, Yurtsevic should start over Tucker. Like, there is a faction of the fan base that actually believes that. Can you please help? Well, this is no offense to Yurt, who obviously is putting up monster numbers, but I feel like this is the Whiteside debate all over again. Can you please set people straight on why, when everybody's healthy, Yurt should not be starting over PJ Tucker?
I don't even know how that's a debate. Like, that doesn't even seem like there's a case to be made about that. But I would say with PJ Tucker, and I don't think this is an exaggeration, I think he might be the most important player on the team. And that's counting all the guys on the roster. If you're saying you're going to put that guy off the bench, that doesn't make sense already. We're talking about defensively, and we're talking about the things they do. And constantly people say, well, are you going to put Tyler in the closing lineup? Because you could possibly put Victor Oladipo because he has defense. Like, that's the Omer Yurtseven and PJ thing, except PJ's doing much more on both ends sides of the ball as we're seeing right now. And just looking at PJ specifically, like I said, the playmaking thing is just out of this world, what he's doing. Like, the E has never done this up to this point. Now guys like Bam and Jimmy go out. They're primary playmakers within, like, inside the interior of the offense. And now he takes that over and he's setting up guys. He's taking over the rebounding in a lot of ways next to Yurt, and he's kind of the box out guy that Spo constantly talks about screening. If you ever see a guy get an open three, it's because PJ Tucker just laid a guy out right in front of him. Like, it's just constantly thing after thing like that on the offensive end when we constantly talk about things defensively. But I think we're seeing so much about PJ not next to Bam that I just want to see PJ next to Bam again. And I feel like talking about starting lineups, like, that is the most important thing over anything, is seeing Bam and PJ be able to switch like that in a defensive scheme and not have to see PJ running pick and rolls and have a drop big. Like, you want to see him be able to do that. And especially if we're talking about against this Suns team, if you can sit there and have a switchy player like PJ, and even looking at tonight, I think they're going to do the thing they did against the Jazz early in the season where they ended up putting PJ on Gobert. So every time PJ would end up on Donovan Mitchell when they switched, I think they're going to probably do a lot of that with PJ tonight. But that's kind of the end goal, is PJ and Bam. As much as we talked about finding that power forward filler to put next to Bam, it seems like he's got a couple of years left in him.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like the real debate is who's the big going to be off the bench behind the two of them. And I think
I don't think that's a debate either, honestly.
Well, right. Well, it should be Dedmon, right? No, it should be. But I mean, if we're going to have a debate that's actually reasonable or somewhere in the ballpark, that would be it. It's certainly not who's going to start. Greg, a lot of hay is being made too over how certain teams are playing against the other contenders in the league. The Nets now 0-7 against the other best teams in the league right now that they've played against. The Heat are 5-2 against those teams. That didn't even include Utah, which actually pushes them up to 7-2. We know that one of the losses was to Golden State, a game they didn't have everybody, and now again tonight they don't have Jimmy. So what to you is the significance of this? Like, what I'm with Tony. I don't see a path to victory tonight. I just don't. To me, the path to victory is Max Strus going nuts. Okay, and if he's not starting, that becomes a little bit harder. Or Caleb. Well, more Max than Caleb, I think.
Yeah.
But to this point, Greg, I mean, what is a good result tonight? Like, what would make you feel good about this team without me forcing you to pick them?
Keep it competitive. I see that the line dropped from 10.5 to 9.5 since we started this broadcast. So in the last 10 minutes and 53 seconds, the line shrunk a point in the Heat's favor. I don't know what's up with that. The Heat play up to their competition. So I think that even though there is an element of no Jimmy, no Bam, it's Phoenix. They're one of the best teams in the league. That's something to watch for. But here's some bright spots. On 2 days rest, I went and looked at some numbers for our old vets. Mr. Kyle Lowry on 2 days rest, 16 points a game, 10 assists, 53% field goal shooting, 47% three-point shooting. That is in 5 games with 2 days rest. Duncan has similar increased shooting capabilities on 2 days rest. So I'm hoping that with the 2 days rest, if they can get some igniter playing from Tyler Hero or Max Strus. They need one of those two guys to have essentially a 30-point night, I think, for them to get this game. So that's a tall order. But this is one of those weird games where if it was close down to the end, it would be typical Miami Heat basketball, and it's the Detroit Pistons on the road that make us go crazy.
Yeah, just a couple comments that came in. One, we do react to a live game. You guys should check out Kaz's comment. Post up 5 hours as soon as the game ends. I don't know if he means during the game, but we do have post up 5 hours as soon as the game ends, and everybody prefers Royal to me on that anyway. So check out. I think Royal's back tonight actually. So check that. Right? Is that right, Jonathan? Royal is making his long. Nobody was really awaiting it, but anyway, I'm going to say it's his long awaited.
He actually returned last episode.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was very staged, but he's back tonight to host with you and the rest of the group. But the other comment that came in: Chalmers not active again tonight. He can't be. Because of the way that this works with players coming back. I think we have to just accept the fact we may not see Rio play for the Heat, that this may have been just about acclimating back to the organization. Greg and I have discussed this a little bit. Maybe there's a role for Rio down the road, or maybe at least him getting back in the mix gets him with another team. But I don't know necessarily that we're going to see Rio play for them at all. But I'm going to go around here to everyone on this. On Phoenix, your biggest concern, let's do this in 15 seconds or less each. Your biggest concern, I'll start with Jonathan, on Phoenix tonight is who?
I would say Chris Paul. I think just his ability to move the ball, and we saw with the Warriors how they were able to just create good look after good look. I think Miami played a really good game against the Warriors, but that Warriors offense just runs like a well-oiled machine, and I think Phoenix is very similar, right? You have a really good playmaker in Chris Paul, and he's able to not only make the pass, make the hockey assist too. So I think he's the guy that I'm really most worried about, especially if you have a guy like Yurt in the drop, because he can hit that mid-range all day long. Him and Devin Booker can hit that mid-range all day long. So that's probably the guy I'm most worried about.
Brady?
Yeah, I was actually totally going to agree right there. I was going to tie in DeAndre Ayton a little bit more, but it is the Yurt thing. It's because they're going to just totally run pick and rolls right at him all night, and they're going to try to totally pick on him. And if there's any team that could do it, it's this Phoenix Suns team, because they have two guys that are probably the best at doing it in the entire league, in Booker and Chris Paul, just with the mid-range. But I think Chris Paul's going to really, if you want to tie in prize picks, maybe go over on Chris Paul's assists, because I really think he's going to try to manipulate Yurtseven and get the ball to Ayton tonight, because he's returning. That's going to be an interesting one. I want to see if Yurtseven maybe, and he's a little bit bigger as well, I want to see if he can handle him if they try to feed him down low. So that's kind of the one I would be watching.
Yeah, Brady, I love you mentioned the prize picks there, because I did go over on Chris Paul. Make sure you guys are using that code 5. I went over on Chris Paul's assist at 10. I went over on Lowry's assist at 8.5. Remember, he had 9. To Greg's point about what Lowry with 2 days rest, but he had 9 before he got ejected the other night. So I feel pretty good about 8.5. Go to prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. Tony, who are you most concerned about?
Hey, Chris Paul's a great one. Devin Booker also has the highest usage rating he's ever had in the NBA this year, because he's responsible for a lot more offensively than last year. And his shooting numbers reflect that too. Devin Booker's a problem, okay? Both of those guys create advantages. I'm worried about DeAndre Ayton tonight, because they're going to be creating advantages for him to get easy buckets at the rim all night.
Yeah, I could see Ayton having an 8 of 11 game tonight with a few free throws thrown in. I think that's very possible. Greg, yours?
It's hard not to say Ayton because Yurt is just not ready to handle that situation. But I'm actually going to go a different direction. I think it's Devin Booker just by virtue of the fact that he can
Problem.
just score at such a high volume. And I will give it the listeners, the viewers, 2 prize picks that are really, really worth going and chasing. Chris Paul at 4 rebounds and Devin Booker at 4.5 rebounds. I know rebounds is not a sexy stat to bet on as a prop bet. Both of them in 8 or 9 of their last 10 have eclipsed those numbers. So go take the over on Chris Paul and Devin Booker's rebounds tonight. Prize picks.
Yeah.
Use the code 5.
Use the damn code 5. Let me throw this to you guys, but you got to keep it to 15 seconds here this time. Has PJ Tucker been better so far than Jae Crowder was for the Miami Heat? Tony, you're first.
Yeah, he has. He's doing so much with his offensive game and contributing on defense. I think Jay could shoot a little bit better than PJ, but in the corner, PJ makes up for that. So I love that, man. I love him.
Greg, been better?
It's not even close at all. PJ Tucker is infinitely more important to this team and has been more productive. And here's the craziest thing. So I looked up that 2 days rest thing, hoping PJ Tucker would be supported by that.
Yeah.
Here's great. On 0 days rest, PJ Tucker shoots 71% from 3. So that's like he's literally impervious to age and back-to-back games. So PJ Tucker.
PJ, so I mean, Brady, I know how you feel about this. I don't even need you.
I will say that if we take this a step forward and say Jae Crowder, the best version of Jae Crowder, which was the opening series of the bubble, I still think this version of PJ Tucker is better than that Jae Crowder because we're saying that part of Jae Crowder was the shooting, and we're talking about not the 2 days rest, but even like 46% from 3 over this stage with more eyes on him, with no Jimmy Butler, with no Bam Adebayo, with all these guys out and still doing that. I think the best version of Jae Crowder is still not at the level of PJ Tucker right now.
Jonathan, I'm assuming you feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. He hit it on the head. 46% shooting is second in the league right now, if I'm right. And Jae Crowder at his best was really dang good, but over a long period of time, if we still had him, he would not be the same player right now. PJ does a lot more. He's able to screen. He's pretty much our primary playmaker when Kyle Lowry went out. So he just does so much for this offense and defense. So, you got to go with PJ, man.
All right, so we can put it to bed now, okay? We can put the whole Jae Crowder thing to bed, the whole Myers-Leonard contract. We officially bury all of it right now. They upgraded from Jae Crowder, and they're spending half as much money as they would have spent on Jae Crowder per season, right? So it's over. It was a blip, step back, move 2 steps forward, right? Okay, let's do it. All right, tonight, does anybody have the guts tonight? We just got the
I got the guts. Heat by 1, baby.
This man.
You know what?
Clip this and hold me accountable. Heat by 1
in the first quarter. Okay, go ahead. Anybody else have the guts?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Lowry, like you said, before he went out, he had 9 assists. Obviously, water always finds this level that Heat Nation always knows. But if he's on pace to do something like that, has a 16, 17 assist game, and he's carving up the defense, look, Phoenix is really good defensively. But if he can do something like that and get all the other guys going, this team has a chance, right? We were able to keep it really close versus the Warriors with pretty much nobody. Why can't we do it against Phoenix?
And that's a fair point. And I think sometimes teams come out soft when they're thinking they're going to have a good matchup. So if Miami can play them tight to halftime and then stay in this matchup afterwards, then you have to take every opportunity to win a basketball game that you can. But them boys are second in defensive rating, and we're not throwing our best out there tonight. So I don't see it.
Yeah, and you mentioned staying tight to halftime. I think that will be the case. Like I think this is one that stays close to halftime and it tails off like halfway through the third. I've talked about that before in previous games because this is the type of game that would happen. Like they may get a hot stretch off the bench from Max Strus or Tyler Hero, but the third quarter comes around and the top talent just kind of takes over. I think this is a close one up to that point.
Yeah, look, here's the thing about it. Phoenix has had a couple of weird games this year where they don't put it all together. If Miami can control pace early in the game, Kyle's going to have a lot to do with that. I do think they can stay in it. I just don't know if they can sustain it. I'm with you on that. I think that this game's going to be more competitive than the one last year was. but I think it's going to be challenging beyond that. I will say this, okay? When you look at all these teams now they've seen all of them, right? They've seen Utah twice. They've seen Golden State. They're going to see Phoenix tonight. They've seen Chicago. They've beaten them twice, so the second one was a little bit weird. They've seen Milwaukee 3 times. They've seen Brooklyn once, although obviously not with Kyrie. They've seen all these teams now. I can tell you in conversations that I've had with Heat officials over the past couple of years, they are not afraid of anybody. They believe that this thing is wide open. It's the reason that they decided to overpay Kyle Lowry. They knew they did it. They know it may be an issue in the third year of the contract, but their feeling was, and as was the case with 6 or 7 or 8 other teams, which is going to make the trade deadline interesting, this thing is wide open this year, for sure, okay? And so I don't put anything past the Spoelstra team, but I think they're going to have a little bit of difficulty hanging in this thing at the end. I will say one thing. Whoever starts, Max Strus will finish over Duncan Robinson, and that is what's important right now. That's what you should be watching. Strus is averaging 9 minutes per fourth quarter. Duncan's averaging 4.5. Strus is shooting twice as well in the fourth quarter. Spoelstra's already made his decision, okay? Who starts, we know, is not all that relevant. All right, thanks to everybody here. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. MarkBrownPA.com. Of course, check them out if you need your estate plan or you need your title done or anything along those lines. And, of course, Biscayne Bay Brewing as well. And, Jonathan, we must be sending you that intense nutrition stuff. So I'm going to get you some more. Get all jacked up, okay? Go to Intense Nutrition in Coral Springs. You can look just like Jonathan, right? And, Brady, I'll get you something to make you feel better. Maybe some CBD. I don't know. Is he allowed to have CBD? He can't have the Biscayne Bay Brew. Have a good night, everybody.
All the 10 days, I mean, this weekend, I guess, looking back, what have the past 9 days been like? How much of those guys have survived this stretch and so many guys missing?
Yeah, we're so appreciative for them being ready on call and then finding a way to fit in and learn everything on the fly and then ultimately, make an impact, in their minutes. They've been phenomenal. We would not have been able to continue this road trip and without their additions. And this road trip has been really unique. When I rewind it and think about when we flew into San Antonio, I mean, that feels like 2 months ago. And then we had to remind ourselves this morning in our staff meeting, that was the beginning of this trip. And how many things have changed, how many guys were in and out, with the team, not with the team, guys going back to Miami, other guys coming back and joining us. All of it, has been extremely unique, but we've had some really fun, enjoyable nights and experiences together.
And Lonnie was really highly remembered you. You guys have coached together now.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with him? What he's been able to accomplish?
Yeah, we've been. Look, I've admired Monty. Like a lot of people in this business, for a long time. Everything he's about, what he stands for, how he runs his program. I have so much respect for him and him as a human being. He's genuine. He's authentic. I was no good as a player, but the way he runs his program, I would love to, to play, for a guy, like him. And I'm really excited to be able to work with him and the rest of the staff, with Steve and Mark Few, and Grant Hill. It's really a dream come true. But they've built this program the right way. They have not skipped any steps. They have this record this year and last year for a reason. Yes, they have talent, but I think they've along with JJ, they've really built a program, a culture that they believe in. They found guys that have fit into that culture, and they do it on both sides of the ball. So this is a legit contending team. They have our full respect, and you can't just come into this place and play an average game and expect to win. You have to play at an extremely high level.
So just looking at, mine was also saying how that's been about player development. Things like that you guys perfected that. How significant is that going through this stretch where, so many people are out? How important is that player development in order to keep winning games when you're clearly short at?
Well, our player development program is the lifeblood of what we do. And this has just been an extreme example where we've been forced to, have contributions from everybody. It's an all hands on deck, type scenario right now. And then you have to get the right kind of players, that fit, and understand what we're about. And then hopefully it can be a symbiotic relationship where they can help us and hopefully we can help them. But it's very similar to what Phoenix is doing. I think, since Monty's been here in this program, guys have gotten better, and that's been young guys, veteran guys, all across the board. Players play better, in this program. And I think that's a big credit to his leadership. And again, how he approaches everything and brings everybody together for a common goal that's bigger than just themselves.
I just have one last thing. It always talks about Pat Riley and he didn't fully understand what Riley was, but now he does after he's gone through it so many times over. You see any Pat Riley influence among women?
Yeah, I would say from the motivation standpoint, speaking to players' souls and finding different ways to inspire individual players and a group. You look back at Monty's career, he's learned under some of the best. Learning under Pop, learning under Pat, and all of his other experiences as a player and an assistant coach. He could write a heck of a book, from his playing to coaching experience. It's really amazing the background that he's had. Probably you could also point to the commitment to the defensive side of the floor. He's very committed to developing a team that can defend and be reliable on that side of the court. I don't know if he's gotten that from Pat. It could have been Pop, but again, he's really studied and learned the game, the right way.
All right, Lennox, you can take a couple from Zoom.
All right, we'll begin with Eric Reed. Go ahead.
Thank you. Coach, you have a veteran point guard that's helped your team a lot. What is it like for you to look at a team that is run by, this historic point guard in his 17th year? And what do you see when you see the Chris Paul of tonight that you're going to see tonight? What do you so respect and admire about his game?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. You looked at, we can go on and on about his skill set and, just how brilliant he is as a playmaker. It makes teams better. All you have to do is look at all the teams that he's played on. Did they elevate and go to a different level from his arrival? And you can say that literally about every single team that he's been on, particularly when you've seen him change teams and how much better those teams became while he was there. That's just a credit to his winning mentality. He'll figure it out. He'll find a way, to get a group to a higher standard, a higher level. And I think that's the ultimate compliment, ultimate respect you can give to a Hall of Fame player like that. It transcends stats or schematics, all of those things. It's just being a brilliant basketball player makes other players and teams better.
All right, up next we have Cooper Moorhead, Heat.com. Go ahead.
Yeah, so along those same lines as Eric's question, you had Steph earlier and then CP3 tonight. What does the experience of playing against all-world point guards like that mean for the development of a young big like Omer?
Yeah, I think it really helps us as well of having that type of perennial All-Star Hall of Fame quarterback playing for us. You just see how he approaches each single possession. I'm talking about Kyle, and so guys see a deeper level of thought and IQ every single game, and for our young guys on this road trip, you're seeing, some of the best that have ever done it, from that position, and doing it in totally different ways. But when you face those kind of players like CP or other teams probably feel the same way when they're facing us with Kyle, you really understand that, they're competing to win. So every detail, every possession really matters, and you're on the other side of it. You can get exposed or exploited or manipulated just by losing one fraction of a count of concentration or focus or discipline. Those guys are able to really make you pay for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Coach, we're good here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Coach, first, do you have a minute restriction for DeAndre, Jay, and JaVale, or is it just see how the game plays and see how they respond?
You're just going to see how they respond.
You talked yesterday about how they did a lot of cardio, they've been doing stuff pre-practice. I saw them out doing stuff to shoot around. When you're ramping back up, how big are those extras? Those extras that maybe you wouldn't do normally, but you're doing like before and after practice to get ready to play. And then in a situation like this.
What do you mean extras?
Extra is the wrong word, but I'm just thinking that, they're the way that JaVale was talking yesterday, he was saying 2-a-days, he was saying lifting and trying to stay in condition while he was in quarantine. And I guess how significant is that because he said he didn't have a lot of symptoms. So how significant is that for a guy like him to be able to still do that while he's in quarantine, while he was out in quarantine?
And it's probably a better question for him. I just think those guys have a standard of cardio, and they know how they want to feel on off days. They know where they want to be when they're getting their workouts in. So I think what players try to do when you're hurt or coming back from an injury or being away from playing is you're trying to get back to the place where you were. And so I think anything you can do to try to approach that is important, but there's nothing that can mimic playing. Everybody knows that. And so you're just trying to get as close as you can to set a base. Because in the game, you get to a place where you're like trying to get your second win. And that's when you're in shape, is when it's easy to just bypass the second win and you just keep playing. When you haven't played for a while, you're always trying to get to that point where you're tired and you can push past it. I think that's what guys are trying to do. So every rep, we have a saying, reps remove doubt. And anytime you can get your reps in, it removes the doubt of, being tired or whatever the case may be in game.
Lonnie, I was curious from your perspective, if you just have an eye as a coach for when guys are tired on the court, or is that something that constantly really helps with someone like DeAndre, for example, when you know by now what it looks like?
I just know. I've been around these guys, JaVale, not so much, but I've been around the rest of them enough to know. Most of them won't tell me the truth, but I kind of know when they're a bit winded. Usually when they ask me to come out, they're way past their limit just because they want to play. But I think I have a decent feel for when a guy is approaching the limit or, right before, you can just tell. So I hope I can identify that when these guys are, out there on the floor tonight.
Miami kind of like the Clippers through the other night, where even with the guys down, like someone like Strus, for example, has really stepped up with the guys out. They just had a lot of bodies still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we talked about it yesterday. Like that young man is one of the best shooters in the league, and you have to respect his ability to get his shots off quickly. He and Duncan, and they're a deep team. I mean, Kyle by himself is just a handful, and a lot of it's defense, his ability to take charges. I think they lead the league in charges. A lot of that is probably because of Kyle, and then his weak side defense. He's one of the rare guys that can. It's a lot like Chris. He can be posted up by a bigger guy and come up with the ball, that kind of stuff. So they have some guys out like we do, but they also have depth, and they have arguably the best coach in the league. Him, Steve, Pop, like who knows? That system has been in place for a long time now, and they just play to their standards. So whoever they plug in, they just go out there and get after it. This kid, you're at 7. I've been watching him for a few weeks. I'm trying to figure out how they find that guy, because I watch a lot of Spo's games. And when I watch him play, I'm like, man, that dude is skilled and he's tough. And he's certainly a Miami DNA guy.
When you just speaking to that, player development, one thing that you guys stress, how much do you see that?
It's who they are. It's one of the programs that has influenced how we do our stuff here. I've talked a lot about Golden State and San Antonio, but Spo is one of the coaches that I look up to about as much as anybody, just because of the stamina that he's had and their ability to find players and just turn them into, rotation guys, all-stars, whatever the case may be. Like, he's been doing it for a long time. So they certainly have perfected it, finding guys. And you go all the way back to, Bashan Leonard, guys like that back in the day that nobody wanted to draft, and they go to Miami and they become starters. They've been doing it for a long, long time.
We'll finish with a couple on Zoom. First, we'll go to John Crowdy with PTV.
Hey, what's going on, Monty? How are you?
Hey, John.
I know you talked a little bit about Kyle and his impact defensively. When you look at tape, you obviously have one of the best point guards in the league. And Chris, what do you see from Kyle and the way he's kind of changing the team offensively from Miami's perspective when you're reviewing the tape on your end?
I mean, I think the thing with Kyle is he has the ability to play with the ball and off the ball. I'm not quite sure Miami's had a dominant point guard like that can do that in a long time. His ability to that left-hand setup for a 3, we all know about it, and yet it's really hard to stop. His ability to get to the free throw line so that they can set their defense. And he's just been a really good player for a long, long time. When you add a guy like that to Butler and all of the guys that they have, it helps with the continuity, but Kyle's so doggone smart. He can play on any team and figure it out, and that's what you're seeing. The passing ability, the way he draws fouls, he's just a tough guy to match up for. And the thing that when I watch the film, when they ISO, Jimmy at the elbow, and they got 3, sometimes 4 guys in a gaggle action, Kyle's the guy over there setting the hardest screen, just knocking guys out. And that's probably something he doesn't get a lot of credit for, but he's one of the better screen setters in the league.
2 more. Next will be Eric Reed with ETV.
Hey, Coach, thank you for taking our questions and answering them as well as you do. Just wondering, last year's experience taking your team all the way to the NBA Finals, how did that improve you as a coach, and how has it sort of enabled you to handle the challenge of this season now and trying to get back there and win it?
I mean, I think when you get that close and you come up short, you fail. It improves your capacity to learn. For me, I've always respected the guys who've done it year after year after year, but there was a humility for me, just because I'd never done it, one, and two, I think about guys like Spo and Steve and Pop and Doc who do it time and time and time again, the stamina that it takes to do that. I think about Coach Riley. I understand Coach a lot better now than I did almost 30 years ago when I was a rookie for him. I just thought he was the most intense person I'd ever met in my life. And having gone through an experience like that, I understand him a lot better than I did back then. So I think it just increased my capacity to learn and grow, but also created a level of humility for all the players and the coaches that do it over and over and over again.
Final question will be Yaron Weitzman with Fox Sports.
Hey Monty, hope you're doing well. You mentioned the charges before, how the Heat draw so many. Is that something that you kind of does that affect how you attack them as a team? And is that something that you even would game plan for?
I think every team game plans for Kyle taking charges. When I was in Philly as an assistant and he was in Toronto, we showed film clips of, he's an empty out slow guy. If his guy cuts through the paint, Kyle will slowly empty out to anticipate the charge. I mean, if you're not aware of that, you're going to get beat. And so we talked about it in Philly. We talked about it here. He's one of the, few guys from that position that can affect the game defensively. We have one in Chris. And so our guys are well aware of, Kyle's effect. We call it the Lowry effect. He used to drive Joel Embiid crazy when we were in Philly. And so we showed clips of him yesterday doing that. So he's just a really good player and a pain in the butt.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.